big injury question mark this week. The 49ers wide receiver, Deebo Samuel, listed as limited at practice today, which I think is an encouraging sign for the 49ers as Deebo Samuel tries to make his way back from that shoulder injury he suffered on Saturday night against Green Bay. And I think here's the question. I think a lot of people believe that Deebo is going to try to gut it out and make it back in time. But how effective can he be and will he be with a shoulder that is not fully right now? And that we'll see on Sunday night when the 49ers and Lions meet for the NFC Championship.
Yeah, that's well said, Adam, because you do expect him to try to be out there. That's the type of player that he is. But what can he actually do dealing with the shoulder? We appreciate the update. The 49ers, by the way, let's talk a little bit more about their offense. They have the best left tackle in the NFL, and Trent Williams, who has allowed just 1 sack all season. However, San Francisco not as strong on the other side of the line, where Colton McKivitz has allowed 12 sacks. That could be an issue against Aidan Hutchinson, who has 8 sacks in the last 4 games. Looking at specific matchups as we get closer to these ones. Dan, how could the Lions look to take advantage of that potential mismatch?
Yeah, Marcus Spears taught us a couple weeks ago, you take your linebackers, you put them up in what we call the A gaps, which is either side of the center. That forces all of those offensive linemen to be in many ways one-on-one, and I would let Hutch whoop on McKivitz. Oof. And he's shown on tape to struggle a little bit, and the Lions did that a lot last week. 4 defensive linemen spread out, and then those double A gaps. Now, as an offense, you're sitting there going, okay, one-on-ones, and I love the Lions vary their coverages behind it. Both backers drop out, the corners play the flats, the safeties drop back, and then that inside player drops down into what we would call like a Tampa 2 run-through. So it's really a Tampa 2 or a 30 cloud, essentially, coverage-wise, and it's a ton of one-on-one blocking. Both tackles are singled up, and it often forces the quarterback to feel condensed even though you still have 7 people in coverage. Again, you walk those linebackers up in the A-gaps, 4 defensive linemen. Remember, last time we saw that cover 2 or 30 cloud zone defense. This time, all of them cats are blitzing, and you're playing man-to-man coverage. The ball's got to come out because you're only getting significant one-on-ones by both your offensive lineman and your back, and you play tight man coverage. I could absolutely see the Lions doing that. Now you've seen it, the 4 defensive linemen, the double A-gap pressure. We've seen zone with 2 safeties. We've seen man. Now one of those backers triggers, one drops out, and they're going to play a zone behind it with a dropped backside defensive end, and everybody's got vision on, okay, quarterback, what are you going to do with the football? They force it out of his hands, and then they rally to the ball to get off the field. And so I think it's one of those situations where if you get into those second downs, I could see him happening on second down, and McKivitz is going to be singled up so consistently. Yeah. How much they do it and how much they change the coverage on the back end of it is going to force Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan to be on their A game when it comes to plan.
Dan, I love that you talked about coverage because the answer to that usually when those backers walked up is Christian McCaffrey on a quick release. Sure. Because what it does is to the point we talked about, it forces you to what the offensive line when I was playing called pinch, right? Make sure that these A-gap linebackers, shortest distance from point A to point B is a straight line. So you want to get those guys taken care of. The other thing it does is it takes the back away from being able to chip on the edge of the line of scrimmage because usually he's responsible for one of those linebackers. So to your point, as much as they can get Aidan Hutchinson lined up on McKivitz is an opportunity for the Detroit Lions to generate pass rush, to your point, without having to bring extra people, even though Aaron Glenn will bring guys off the second level to add to that rush that usually comes scot-free. But this is an opportunity to get your best defensive lineman on their worst pass blocking offensive lineman and see if he can do some damage and at least force Brock Purdy to move off the spot and have to go to a secondary throw.
Yeah, they're going to do all of those things, and you already mentioned it, though, Marcus. They are going to bring second-level people, and folks is going to be butt-booty naked with opportunities to run at Brock Purdy. Here, you're going to see early in the game, they're going to bring Melifonwu, but there is a quick release by Rashard White. They are peeling to the bottom of the screen. That would take away the quick look to a Christian McCaffrey. Now, we're going to see that Jack Campbell is going to mug up. He's right there in that A-gap. As he releases, you do have the one-on-one with Aidan Hutchinson. Free run to the quarterback. This is the play that ends the game. This is what colleges call a hot blitz. They rush 2 from the top, and they're playing a bastardized cover 2 on the back end where there's only 2 droppers in the middle, but you still keep the top on the defense. This is something we see a lot of the time from the Kansas City Chiefs. They can do so many things defensively, and Aaron Glenn has been creating rush in so many different ways, and I think it's amazing that we were able to show the different variations that Detroit can bring.
Go, Dan.
Marcus.
No, you go, and then we'll get Marcus.
I got a question. RC, you played with one of the best blitzers in the history from a secondary guy in Troy. How do these guys, because Detroit's doing a phenomenal job at it, is it hitting it on the run based on timing? Because if you get caught early, does that put you guys at a disadvantage on the back end?
Well, what Detroit has done is Detroit has calls that go before the actual blitz call, and that will tell you what the disguise will be. And so whether they come out and they say, hey, we're going black Sam Fire Zone, you know exactly what the disguise on the back end is, and we'll know that Jack Campbell will be mugged up in order to get Aidan Hutchinson free, or that we'll have Brian Branch showing that he's coming off of the slot to allow Melifonwu to come from the other side. And I think they've done a good job of having all 11 people dialed into the disguise.
Yeah, RC, I love the fact that you referenced Branch so much. I think he's huge in this game. I think he's become one of the best nickels in the game. If you remember Baltimore with Kyle Hamilton, how big he was. I'd also say this, with all these pressures, you know what it does? It forces Christian McCaffrey to be a blocker and not a pass catcher, and that is advantage Detroit.